Welcome back to the Diamond K Show here on RadioOnFire.com. Thank you for joining me. A lot of things that we need to get into, a lot of things that we need to chop it up about. As I said at the top of the show, a lot of big stories coming out of Baltimore as of late, and we are going to talk about them. And that and much more. So officials from numerous federal agencies, the local prosecutors, police commissioner, U.S. attorney, a lot of people came together for a big announcement. I would say a big announcement. As I said, so they announced their latest effort led to 90 indictments, 90 people arrested, seizures of drugs, keys, opioids, and 51 guns taken off the street here in Baltimore. So, they are doing what I call the victory dance. The victory dance. Victory dance it is. And, you know, it's something that is deserved. I mean, I can understand why they might be happy about this. The quote was, "While it takes only the blink of an eye to take a life with a gun, it takes much longer to gather the evidence necessary to bring the people responsible to justice." This is what the U.S. Attorney Robert K. Hur said, and he was feeling himself. He was feeling himself along with the police commissioner. The police commissioner, we've talked about him. He's from New Orleans. He needed a win, and he needed something to hang his hat on because the time has been ticking and they want to know, like, what are you doing? You know, we brought you here from New Orleans. What are you doing? And he needed something. So they said they pulled off the street enough fentanyl to kill 200,000 people. That's what they said. So this was a coordinated effort. They had some undercover agents involved and all of that good stuff. So this fresh batch of indictments raises the total to 215 defendants charged this year as part of the Project Safe Neighborhoods Violent Crime Reduction Strategy. They said that they are removing drugs from the streets. They're removing guns from the streets and removing bad actors from the streets of Baltimore. That's what they said. And of course, this comes at a time when the president, Donald Trump, is talking crazy about Baltimore. But is it that crazy? I mean, it's crazy from the standpoint of he's talking about Baltimore like it's another country. This city, this great city, which has its troubles, as any city does. But this city is only 40 minutes away from where Donald Trump is right now. So to talk crazy about a city in a state that is a few miles away from where the White House is, it's kind of crazy. Now, yes, he's not going to win Baltimore, and he knows that. But the fact that he would speak about Baltimore in such terms is counterproductive. But let's get back to the 90 people that have been indicted. 90. Have you heard of such? 90 people. Now, the first 25 defendants were arrested and charged in a 30-count grand jury indictment, which was targeting an East Baltimore drug trafficking organization and based in the Monument Street area called the DTO. And so these defendants were accused of drug distribution starting back in the July of last year. They said it was heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, crack, and they were doing, individual buyers and bulk buyers, so they say. During this investigation, they seized 9 guns, 140 keys of cocaine, 4.5 kilograms of heroin, 479 grams of fentanyl. And this is what they say is enough to kill over 200,000 people. Wow. So also, almost $500,000 in cash and cars totaling over $400,000. Cars. So drug conspiracy. They're also going to face gun charges. They're going to try to really crack down on these folks, really, because, as I said, the new commissioner needs a win. It's election season, like all these things, and so it continues. So, in addition, 6 were also arrested for a drug conspiracy operating since January of this year in West Baltimore, the Frederick and Collins Street area, not far from where I grew up. Now, in this investigation, they seized 5 guns, handgun that was modified to fire as a fully automatic. So they've got that. In addition to that, they've laid out when and where, and they have a lot of information. Now, this is what they say. We don't know if this is the truth, but this is what they say. Now, another crew operating out of Southwest Baltimore in the Emerson Village area was also targeted. 2 indictments that charged 38 people for participating in this drug ring that was moving heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, and crack. Members of that organization use houses in and around Baltimore to process, cut, package, prepare, and sell their drugs. According to the investigation, these people, of course, presumed innocent until proven guilty. This is what the government is saying, or city government is saying, that they did. Now, they also are saying that the group distributed in Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. They were pretty big. So they said that they're responsible for at least 5 overdose deaths that they know of, including the father of one of the conspirators. Wow. So they've allegedly tied the crew to murders and the such. They seized 17 guns, ammunition, drugs, and more than $270K in cash. Wow. So in addition to that, last group of people in Northwest Baltimore, 21 men were indicted for operating another drug ring, selling heroin, crack, coke, fentanyl, and cannabis in the Liberty Heights Garrison area. So from them, they seized 20 guns, $20K in cash, 50 grams of crack, and even more than that in fentanyl. So the organization is, it's really sad that that we're at this point, right? So in their attempt to curb violence, who is the U.S. attorney, he's the prosecutor, He's talking about their focus is curbing the violence and going after gun offenders particularly. And these federal gun charges don't offer parole or lightened sentencing for those who are convicted. So they're going to really try to throw the book at a lot of the people that they gathered up. They're trying to make their message clear, especially in the wake of Baltimore getting this negative light that we're getting right now here. Harrison, who is the new police commissioner, as I told y'all, from New Orleans, he said that he has been hearing from community members, and they noticed the bad actors have been taken off the street, and that makes a difference in the community. I haven't seen it. I don't see any big difference, but that's what they said. Part of the community interaction is involving, people, the police, walking around, talking to people. I have noticed a larger police presence in the city in recent weeks. I have. But so they have a big issue. A big issue. So in addition to the drugs and the guns, so you take these guys off, right? You got 90 people that they've taken off. Okay? There are 90 people that can take their places. There is. So we can continue to get bad actors off the street, and I don't have a problem with that. But I don't want them to stop there. I want them to address the root cause for the criminal activity. That's more important. That's more lasting. That's more difficult. It's easy for the police to go in an area where crime happens, round up some black and brown people, because that's what they're going to do, round up some black and brown people. It's easy for them to do that. But let's address the root cause. Why are they selling drugs? Why is it going on? How the drugs get in the country, or where they come from, right? These are the more lasting things. A lot of fentanyl comes from China. Did you know that? It does. It does. But this coordinated effort, they are to be commended, I suppose. 90 defendants. And we don't know what's going to happen, whether or not they did legal investigations, whether these charges are even going to stick. I mean, maybe. We're going to see. We're definitely going to be talking about this case for some time to come. 90 people. 90 people. So, clear message, as I said, her and the police commissioner relying on community collaboration in their efforts. What does that mean? There was help. There was help from the citizens of the city. That's the message that they are trying to convey. Message that they're trying to convey. We talked about this on radioonfire.com, of course. And I also want to talk about the great Elijah Cummings. We're going to talk about Elijah Cummings. We're also going to talk about President Trump and their ongoing feud. And it is a feud. I mean, we found out that last week, Elijah Cummings' house was broken into. He lives here in Baltimore. And he said that an individual attempted to gain entry into his residence at approximately 3:40 a.m. over the weekend. Weekend had just passed. Saturday, to be exact. And he said that he was notified by his security system. Good that he has one of those. And he scared the intruder away by yelling before the person gained entry into the residential portion of his house. So did the person know that this was Elijah Cummings' house? We don't know that. Cummings did thank the Baltimore Police Department for its response. Nothing was taken. In an incident report, an officer wrote that police were called to Cummings' home in Madison Avenue after the burglary. And they were called, they said, at 8:52. Cummings' wife, who has been here to Radio on Fire, she is the Maryland Democratic Party chair. And, we've been talking about Elijah Cummings. And one more thing. The intruder was described as a black male, early 40s, 5'8", around 170 pounds. And that could be anybody. He had a black T-shirt on. So anyway, the Cummings family live in Baltimore all year. The House is in recess this week, and Cummings has spent that time in and around Baltimore. So Baltimore is the city that people have been talking about. This is the city where The Wire was made. Because of that and many other things, because of that, people come down hard on Baltimore. Come down hard on Baltimore. So, in response to the news of this burglary, Trump said, "Too bad," about the burglary attempt on Rep. Elijah Cummings' home. Too bad. But anyway, their back and forth feud has been going on, and it's another distraction technique that Trump has used many times. Kids use it all the time. You know, when you confront a kid about something that they did, and you say, "Hey, Timmy, why didn't you clean up your room?" And you start talking about Timmy, like cleaning up his room. And Timmy says, "Well, James didn't clean up his room either." That's what Trump does. He's talking about James. Elijah Cummings is James. Now, has Elijah Cummings not done everything that he could do for the city of Baltimore? I'm going to go with, there's always more you could do. But the federal government also plays a role in this. Now, the corruption, the misappropriation of funds, the lack of getting major things done, yes, that is a fact. And that falls in the lap of Elijah Cummings, on down to the mayor, on up to the governor, the school board. I mean, there's enough blame to go around. You can line them all up. There's a lot of people who've done a lot of things that need to be not only called out, but investigated. Now, if we're going to investigate Cummings and any other people, would we want to investigate? Shouldn't the president get investigated too? Now, what if Cummings acts like Trump has acted during his investigations? Republicans would be going crazy. But I've gone all around to say this. Baltimore is a mess. We just talked about earlier story, 90 people being arrested. 90 people being arrested in a drug case. Multiple drug cases, 4 or 5. All of those things are things that happen in every major city, urban city. You're going to have drugs. New York, you go to New York, don't act like New York is squeaky clean. We can go to D.C. There are drugs in D.C., right? Now, when you talk about the misappropriation of funds, the corruption, there's corruption in D.C., there's corruption here in Baltimore. Now, Trump mentioning or referencing, hinting to the corruption here in Baltimore is not because he cares about it. It's because he doesn't want that funk on him. Get some of this stuff off me. Elijah Cummings is in charge of the Oversight Committee. doing oversight. Now, does somebody need to do oversight on the city of Baltimore? Yes, we do. We need it. We need it badly. The schools need it. The school system needs it. The police department needs it. A lot of people need it. A lot of government agencies need it. I don't know if it's going to happen. And because Trump mentioned it, does that mean that the investigations into him should stop? He has effectively been able to duck and dodge investigations. They stick to everybody but him. I don't know how he does it. I really don't know how he does it. But Elijah Cummings is, I don't know how much longer he wants to be a member of the House. He's been in government for many years. Many years he has been in government. Nikki Haley, who used to work for and with the president, she did not like the fact that Trump posted really bad news. The Baltimore house of Elijah Cummings was robbed. Too bad. She said that this was unnecessary. Right? And another rep, Adam Kingser, said, "This is so beneath the office you hold. It's childish, and yet it's getting really old." Talking about Trump. And, when you think about it, the stuff that Trump is doing, we already know. It reminds me of 50 Cent almost. 50 Cent, before he used to drop an album, he used to do stuff. He used to say stuff, call out rappers, all this kind of stuff. Trump's doing the same thing. We know the playbook. People are still falling for it. We know the playbook. Here's the thing, though. When he says things that are outrageous and not true, we dismiss them. When he says things that are true, to still get the focus off of him, do we run after that shiny object, or can we do both? Can we still address the things that Trump has done that look suspicious? His association with Russia, Putin, Saudi Arabia, the way he's handled North Korea, China. I don't know about China. The tariffs, I understand why it's happening, but the thing with Trump and many people like him is motivation is one thing, but when you're not looking at the motivation of why someone is doing or saying something, and you look at the fact that it needs to be said, sometimes it's kind of like, he does have a point. China, something needs to be done about China. And none of the traditional things that people have done, our politicians have done to try to combat China has worked. Now, what Trump is attempting to do with his tariffs, is it going to work? I don't know. But it's a different strategy. It's a strategy for the strong, because they're going to throw punches back. Talking about China, they're going to do some things back. They've been trying to affect the farmers and target different people as the tariffs are affecting them. So we have another month or so, and some new tariffs are going to go into effect. Then things are going to really hit the fan for American companies and consumers going into the holiday season. If these tariffs and this war with China is still going on, this is going to be a very tough shopping season for Americans. Now, when you factor that in with the reality that none of the Democratic candidates are exciting, none of them are moving the needle. Going into the shopping season, if American companies and consumers feel the brunt of this tariff war with China, and that makes everything cost more, even if it's 10% more, you're going to feel it. Can a Democratic candidate who's not that exciting, because none of them are really exciting, Can they grasp onto that energy and the negative backlash that Trump is going to be receiving from these tariffs, the effect of them? Can a Democratic candidate harness that and gain some momentum this fall, going into the shopping season, the holiday season, the Christmas season? That's interesting. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at The Don McKay Show, at Radio on Fire. Of course, you can become a premium subscriber, radioonfire.com/join. We have exclusive content for our members. You can also make a donation. Your donations help keep this thing going, keeping this urban train rolling. We are one of the fastest growing urban websites and news sources on the internet. And you can help keep things moving here at Radio on Fire. radioonfire.com/donate. I'll be back tomorrow. More information, more stories, more news, and all that kind of stuff. See you guys tomorrow.